Okay, everybody, good evening. A little bit later than I usually post a video, but wanted to talk about this for at least a little bit today because a couple people brought it up in some of the earlier videos I posted. And I guess this news came out last night and I just missed it because I didn't mention it in the post-game video or the post-game stream. And I also didn't mention it in the video I made about the Bud Clark injury earlier today, which would have been a pretty good time to mention it. But let's talk a little bit about Rodney Thomas II here. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks. So Rodney Thomas II did not play yesterday, which at the time I didn't really give much thought. I didn't really think there was much behind it. A lot of players don't play from preseason game to preseason game. It doesn't really mean a ton sometimes. But in this case, it did mean something because as it turns out, Rodney Thomas actually had surgery on a fracture in his hand in the last week. So he was unavailable because of an injury. Did not hear about that until I saw this tweet, which was earlier today. Most people saw it last night. Either way, though, Rodney Thomas also currently dinged up, currently less than 100%, and currently not able to play football. Now, normally that would be kind of a nothing story. That would be a pretty lightweight consideration. But the fact that the Seahawks are already dealing with a decent amount going on in their secondary right now, they've already got a pretty notable amount of injuries stacked up here. It makes it feel a little bit more important. So this is worth talking about a little bit here because Rodney Thomas, he's not a big-time player in this league, but he has played before. He has started games before. He's been a player of some note before. He's certainly not a household name, but he's done things that people notice in previous games with the Colts. And there have been moments in his career where they've seen it fit to start him and play him a pretty good amount. And somebody like that could be valuable at a time like this, where this team is dealing with quite a bit of injury and misfortune at the safety spot. So just to recap where we sit right now, go over to the ESPN depth chart, look at the secondary. Starting safeties right now, Julian Love and Ty Okada. Nicky Manwari's your starting nickel corner, but he is dealing with an injury. Maybe he's back for the regular season, maybe not, we don't know. Bud Clark out for the foreseeable future. Maybe he's not out for the season, maybe, but at this point I would kind of anticipate that he is, and if he's not, then great, but let that play out on its own timeline and just prepare for it. And then you've got Rodney Thomas, who is now questionable. Now, one thing I want to say real quick before we move on. According to this tweet from Brady Henderson, Rodney Thomas has a chance to play next week. So if he does play next week, then this is all moot, right? Because then he missed 1 week of the preseason, and it doesn't really matter that much. Whoopee, whatever. It doesn't mean anything, right? He missed 1 week of the preseason. He's a veteran. He's fine. This is a more of a discussion in the event that he does miss some time. Like, let's say he misses next week and he isn't ready for the start of the season. Does that leave you in a spot where you need to do something else? That's the question. So you've got Okada, you've got Love, you've got presumably Igbenogany as your nickel corner at that point with no Eamon, and then your backup safety is probably D'Anthony Bell. That may have been the case even if Rodney Thomas was healthy. All right, guys, let's take a quick break here to talk a little bit about Prize Picks, currently the #1 sports pick app in America. The app is very easy to use. Check it out to my left here. You can do player picks where you just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Or you can pick teams where you pick winners, spread, or total on any game or fight. The app is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. Right now, they have a great offer. You can play your first $5 lineup and get $150 in lineups if you win. All you have to do is use code HMA when you sign up. It's a brand new offer. Best time possible to get on the app. So get on over there and get to winning that first lineup. So remember, Prize Picks, code HMA. Download the app today and remember to always gamble responsibly. And that may have been the case even with Rodney Thomas being healthy. The reason why I say that is because D'Anthony Bell is a player who was here last year, so he knows the defense a little bit more than Thomas, who was not here last year. Bell was also a player that left, and we decided to bring him back this season. So clearly, we appreciated something about him. We liked having him around. If we didn't, I don't know why you'd bring him back. So I think D'Anthony Bell probably would have been the first safety off the bench as well. Now, Bud Clark may have been that first safety off the bench if he was healthy, but D'Anthony Bell is capable of being a pretty good player in this league. He played fairly well last night in my mind. He missed one tackle. Other than that, I thought he played a good game. And if he's your first safety off the bench, I think you could do a lot worse. So if you look behind Rodney Thomas, where you've got guys like AJ Finley and Max and Hook, the question is that okay? Because Rodney Thomas probably would have been ahead of those two guys on the depth chart, and he probably still is if he's healthy. But AJ Finley, clearly a guy the team appreciates because they kept him on the team through an injury last year. Remember, he missed all of last season with a major injury, and they kept him around, and he's still on the team this year. So they see something there. And Maxon Hook is a guy that you listen to the right people, he's getting talked up. Like Corbin Smith has been all over this for a little while now. He really likes Maxon Hook as a player and thinks that he could replicate some of the things that Bud Clark did defensively. So if Rodney Thomas misses some time here, and you're also stacking that with Nicky Manwari missing a little bit of time, or maybe you're thinking of Nicky Manwari not as a safety, but purely as a nickel corner, and the safety stuff at this point is just like, we'll deal with that years down the line when we feel like he's got a little bit more ability to do it well. I don't know if you need to go out and find another safety. I don't know. You might be just as good with Finley or Hook than you would with anybody you can go sign. Now, I'm probably going to make another video tomorrow at some point talking about what you could do to acquire another safety. But as I look at this, I don't feel terrible about our safety spot, even with Thomas missing some time potentially, and Clark being out for the foreseeable future. Okada and Love, that was always going to be your starting group. I maybe Clark would have beaten Okada, but by this point, we knew pretty well it wasn't going to happen. And D'Anthony Bell is a serviceable backup safety. And I don't think there's a huge difference between a guy like Rodney Thomas and Maxon Hook or AJ Finley, except for NFL experience. And remember, AJ Finley was on the team last year, so he probably knows this defense better than Thomas, even though Finley was out last season, because he was actually part of the roster for 2025, even though he never played. So I don't consider this to be a particularly paradigm-shifting situation. And also, Thomas, pretty good chance that he's fine by the time we play games that count. Now, missing time in camp in the preseason obviously doesn't help his case, but I'm getting the sense that the team appreciates him and likes him and does view him as their fourth best safety at the moment with Bud Clark out. So I feel like he's going to make the team at this point, even if it means Finley or Hook or both go to the practice squad. And if he starts the season on IR, then I don't necessarily believe that anybody you can sign is going to be noticeably better than Finley or Hook. So that's kind of how I feel about it. Rodney Thomas, don't panic. Probably going to be back soon here. And even if not, I think it's okay. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think. More stuff tomorrow.